the summary, in 2021, there was a 0.1 general increase in the volume of crimes reported to police, which was from 195,931 cases reported in 2020 to 196,081 cases that were reported to 21. Now, in our breakdown, I think I'll ask the Secretariat to keep helping me, perhaps, so that you can follow on the screen some of these statistics. In terms of assaults, in 2021, we had 29,317 cases that were reported, and this represented 14.9%. The cases reported, and when you compare it to the 30,712 cases that were reported in 2020, this indicates a 4.5% decrease. Now, when you look at the common assault, a total of 23,167 cases were reported to police, compared to 24,799 cases that were reported in 2020. This shows again a decline of 6.5%. Now, in terms of domestic violence, a total of 17,533 cases were reported to police, compared to 17,664 that were reported in 2020. This marks a 0.74% decrease. But in terms of breakdown, 17,000 people, 553, were victims of domestic violence, of whom 3,103 were adult males, and the breakdown continues in our text as we shall show you. I'm just picking out the highlights. On rape, 1,486 cases were registered, compared to 1,519 cases that were reported in 2020. This again shows a decrease of 2.1%. On threatening violence, by end of 2021, a total of 10,408 cases were reported, compared to 10,844 cases that were reported in 2020. This again also shows a decrease by 4%. Now, on burglaries, a total of 4,882 cases were reported, compared to the 4,991 cases in 2020. This also marked a decrease by 2.1%. Now, on child-related offenses, 8,681 child-related cases were reported, compared to 9,225 cases that were registered in 2020. This marked a decline of 5.8%. Now, on the damage to property, this was, I think, one of the most notable areas, that 3.5% of all the crimes reported were a result of malicious damage to property. But later, as we shall explain to you, you'll find when we come to land-related conflicts, many of them were being reported to police, either as damage to property, trespass, and so on. So you'll see that this marked some reported increase. On robberies, in 2021, 5,275 cases were reported compared to 5,302 cases reported in 2020. And this shows a decline of 0.5% decrease. On aggravated robbery of motorcycles, a total of 258 cases were reported to police compared to 349 that were reported in 2020, leading to a decline of 25.7%. On homicide, a total of 3,912 cases were reported compared to 4,460 cases that were registered with police in 2020. This marked a decline of 12.2%. On narcotics, by end of 2021, a total of 1,668 related cases were registered with police. And when you compare it to 2020, which had 1,714 cases, it showed some percentage decrease of 2.6. But in total, a total of 23,887 kilograms of assorted narcotics were seized at Entebbe International Airport in 2021, compared to 41.94 kilograms that were seized in 2020. Now, when we look at the crimes, the ones I've started with are largely a decline, if you have seen the trend of the statistics. Now, we also have some few cases that were on the rise in this second part of the summary of the statistics. Now, on sex-related offenses, in 2021, 16,373 sex-related crimes were reported compared to the 16,144 cases that were reported in 2020. So here we see an increase of about 8.2%. But in total, 16,545 persons were victims of sex-related crimes. Now, we go down and break down the statistics, as we shall show you the females, the males, and so on. On defilement, we also saw there is a registered increase. We had 14,570 cases that were registered on defilement, and when we compare it to the previous year of 2020, where 14,230 cases were registered, it gives us an increase. On aggravated defilement, it was 1.6%, while on defilement it was 2.3%. Now, on breakings, of all the crimes reported in 2021, this contributed 5.1%, with 10,148 cases, compared to 10,113 cases that were reported in 2020. This gives us another rise of 0.3%. On economic crimes, especially private sector fraud, in the period under review, a total of 10,966 cases, representing 5.59, was reported. And when we look at 2020, where we had 10,057 cases, we see an increase of 9%. And cases under the obtaining money by false pretense increased also by 6.6%. On child neglect, a total of 4,961 cases of child neglect were reported in 2021 compared to 4,785 in 2020. This was also a slight increase of 3.6%. On criminal trespass, 3.8% of all the crimes committed in 2021 were really a result of this criminal trespass, with about 7,636 cases registered. And when we compare with 2020, you realize that in 2020 we had 7,505 cases, which shows an increase of 1.7% increase. On aggravated robbery, a total of 1,956 cases were registered compared to the 1,844 reported in 2020. And this marks a 0.6% increase. Aggravated robbery of cash, a total of 436 cases were registered in 2021 compared to 364 cases reported in 2020. And this marks an increase of 19.7%. Murder by mob action. By the end of 2021, a total of 750 are reported compared to 540 that were reported in 2020. And this again indicates an increase. But related to that, about 762 persons were reached. Now, murder by shooting. 303 cases were reported during the period under review, compared to 249 that were reported in 2020. And this shows a 21.6 increase. On arson, 1,803 cases of arson were reported in 2021, compared to 1,614 cases that were reported in 2020, showing an increase of about 11.7%. On cyber crimes, a total of 258 cases were reported during the period under review, compared to 256 cases that were reported in 2020. And this indicates a 0.78% increase. It's important for you to note that cyber crimes led to a loss of about 4.7 billion Uganda shillings, but through the various efforts, about 110 million was recovered. On terrorism, in 2021, 21 cases of terrorism were reported compared to 2 cases that were major in 2020. The increase was largely attributed to the resurgence of terror activities by ADF elements, and of which we ended with some incidents within Kampala, as later you will see in the detailed report, and the actions that were taken to neutralize these groups. On trafficking in persons, a total of 421 cases were registered in 2021 compared to 214 cases registered in 2020. Now, these are cases, but within them, 1,149 persons were victims of trafficking in persons in 2021 compared to 666 victims that were recorded in 2020. Now, the last piece of statistics was on land fraud cases. These have been so many, but because they are reported in the other details, either trespassing, all those other things as I explained earlier. The total which was registered in the land, in our land, the team investigating land in the Uganda police were 332 cases. This, when you compare it to 2020 statistics, it was about 4% increase. Now, before I can go to an individual part of the Directorate of CID and so on, sir, with your permission, you allow me, I don't know how fast they can scan through the report. Now, these are basically the summaries of what I've been presenting on those different crimes that were reported to police. Now, when you scan through and continue, just within a few minutes, 10, for you to appreciate the breakdown, on each, in chapter 1, we do explain extensively the breakdown of these statistics with some annual crime trend, which takes us back from 2017 to 2021. And in it, we have given you a breakdown of those totals, indicating which particular crime was reported and where and in which particular geographical locations. Now, when you continue, in the next page, we go to the regions. Hello? Yeah, yes. Yeah, so thank you, sir. So basically, in each of those crimes we have talked about, interest yourselves in the detailed breakdown of each area and each chart, which breaks down the details as we have explained. Now, the other last part of our report is basically the individual directorate areas, strategic areas of focus. Now, in that report, on the part of CID, which I can ably speak for, we noted some gaps and challenges in dealing with this particular area of improving on our activities. And basically, these challenges have strategically been enumerated, but I will just use a few minutes, 1 or 2 or 3, to explain our focus, which now with the guidance of the leadership, which we are focusing on to try and improve how much we can do this year. One, there is an ongoing effort to develop an electronic case tracking system. We are convinced as police leadership that if we can computerize and have this case tracking system, we shall have solved quite a substantial number of our challenges in terms of the statistics, in terms of the crime, in terms of management of the whole cycle. The second strategic focus is on working towards having a centralized database which can support these investigations.
to 1,384. The passengers who died, especially on motorcycles, were also many, and these were 528. But the passengers who died in heavy omnibuses were only 16. And those who died in the medium omnibuses were 13, and in other vehicles, they were 384. Therefore, one can locate the problem on our roads, that the motorcycles are killing. They are dying in the first place and killing most of the passengers. The passengers who died on our roads were 1,005 only. However, when you look at those passengers that the motorcycles killed, were 528. And therefore, this question of our passengers died has a relationship with the way the motorcycles ride on our roads. We still have a challenge of the pedestrians in rural areas, and they are also dying, and we lost 180 pedestrians, especially who operate in rural areas. Those who were seriously injured in 2021 were also many, and the motorcycles also take the lead. The motorcyclists that sustained serious injuries were 4,377. And the passengers on these motorcycles who sustained serious injuries were 2,393. And when you look at the percentage change, this category of road user all rose above 50% increase. However, we have another road user category, very vulnerable, the pedestrians. The pedestrians, these who walk on the roads, either going for their markets or school children going to school, or any other crossing the road, have also suffered, and we lost 2,377 in 2021. However, those who sustained minor injuries, the numbers are few. And what does this suggest? That when you compute using the severity index, you will find that out of 100 people involved in a road crash, around 38 of them, chances are that they will die on those particular roads. On enforcement, I would like to report that reckless driving is the major cause of accidents. And the fatalities registered because of reckless driving were 2,644. And for careless pedestrian, those pedestrians who cross carelessly and they are not up to date, were 182 in that category. However, when you consider reckless driving, the motorcyclists take the lead. The law that governs a motor vehicle is the same law that governs the motorcycle on our roads. So when we talk of reckless driving, motorcycles are inclusive. The enforcement of traffic regulations by the Directorate of Traffic registered a total of 336,722 traffic offenders that were arrested for various offenses in 2021. So sometimes we hear that the traffic enforcement has relaxed, but now you can hear that a total of 336,722 traffic offenders were arrested by traffic officers deployed countrywide. Of these, 55,751 were arrested for careless driving, amounting to 17%, and 55,102 were arrested using a motor vehicle which is not in a good mechanical condition, the ones you call DMCs. However, 19,653 were arrested for driving without a valid driving permit. Driving without valid permit has also become an issue, and this we need to take it up seriously. In regard to motorcycles, 40,078 riders were arrested for not wearing crash helmet. 40,778 real. Then 35,373 motorcyclists were riding without valid driving permit, and 7,795 were also got by traffic officers on pillion riding, carrying more than one passenger. Still on enforcement of the traffic regulations, riding a motorcycle without crash helmet was very high, and also the valid riding without valid driving license, and also the motor vehicles which were not in a good mechanical condition. Now, when you look at these offenses, they are avoidable, but they continue killing our people. And that's why we opened the presentation that road crashes are predictable and preventable. With these statistics, you can predict the occurrence and say the motorcycles in the next 6 months will kill more passengers or will kill themselves, but we can prevent these road crashes. Lastly, we have many vehicles that got involved in these road crashes. The private vehicles take the lead, and in 2021, 14,119 private motor vehicles were involved in road crashes, and this increase from the previous year was recorded at 26.3%. The government vehicles that were involved in crashes were 390 and increased from 289 the previous year, 2020. And this increment translates to 34.9. And this is also an area we need now to look at. And those, the majority of the accident vehicles that were inspected were found to be in good mechanical condition before the accident, and these amounted to those ones that were found to be in a dangerous mechanical condition were 439. And that translated to 2.6%. Sir, with your permission, I would like to end here and request the PRO to come and inform us of the next action. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we continue with the program. So far we are moving very well. Let's give another round of applause to the Acting Director Traffic and Road Safety for giving us that executive summary in the traffic crimes and incidents and their level of enforcement. We shall now move to the third presentation that will come from the Director Fire and Rescue Services. You're most welcome, sir.
The Inspector General Police, the Deputy Inspector General Police, directors and the invited guests, Assistant Inspector General Police Joseph Mugisa, Director Fire Prevention and Rescue Services. That's going to present the Fire and Rescue report. So, in 2021, there was an increase in emergency reports and calls that were received by the Directorate in various parts of the country. Actual calls received were 1,097 compared to 966 in 2020. But also in the same year, there were false calls that were responded to, 33 of them received in 2021 compared to 19. And there were also incidents that were handled before emergency services arrived, amounting to 128 compared to 30 in 2020. In the year under review, causes of fire were mainly attributed to negligence, basically and mainly in dwelling places and homes. That accounted for 272 in 2021. Electrical short circuits accounting for 186 in 2021 compared to 163 2020. As you know, the overwhelming majority of our people use charcoal stoves in homes. So fires mainly caused by lit charcoal stoves and candles accounted for 164 in 2021 compared to 173 in 2020. There were also other causes like electrical appliances left unattended to, but connected to power supply, accounted for 99 in 2021. Arson accounted to 50 in homes. Fires resulting from electrical, we call them hot welding and cutting works, electric and gas cutting, accounted for 36. And flammable fuel and safe usage accounting for 4, and so on. When it comes to structures where fires occurred, we noticed that in 2021, the majority occurred in residential buildings, residential homes. 364 of all the fires that we attended to, responded to, and handled were in residential homes, compared to 290 in 2020. Now, the explanation to this is that in 2020 there was lockdown, and the majority of people, including workers, were mainly at home. But more so, children of school-going age were also at home, and therefore that increased the number of incidents of fire, because there was a lot of activity at home, and as you do know, most fires tend to in homes, and in most cases child-started or child-led fires. The second one in that category were makeshift structures. These are temporary structures which, where our people normally conduct businesses, stores, and these accounted for 273. Commercial buildings accounted for 168. Electrical installations 123. Factories 32. Stores, warehouses, name them, 48. Restaurants 32. There was a decrease. And in schools and education institutions were 15 compared to 23 in the previous year. As a summary. Now, in the same year, we registered in the country a number of people that were injured as a result of fire. In 2021, 445 people sustained injuries, sustained burns in 2021 as a result of fires that occurred in their premises where they were. And out of these, unfortunately, 74 people died as a result of fire in 2021 compared to 77 in 2020. In the same year, we had a number of devastating fires, which we have tried to highlight in the country. You'll get them through the report. But also something to mention, which is important for us to take note of, is that there were a number of rescue emergencies that were reported and attended to and handled. In 2021, there were 589 rescue emergencies that were reported and responded to and handled. And that compares to 269 that were reported in 2020. Of these, the ones on the top list were pit latrines, where many emergencies were reported, where people were in pits, having fallen in, been thrown in, and also those that were trapped while constructing or digging pit latrines, wells, valley dams, and so on. But there were also response emergencies that were made to collapsed building structures, which were quite a number in the city. And that also included trenches, ditches, and tunnels. The details are in the report. In 2021, a total of 268 people were rescued alive from those many emergencies that we have talked about, from pit latrines, from collapsed building structures, from trenches, ditches, road traffic accidents, name them. That compares to 151 that were rescued in 2020. But I'd like, Chairman, Sir, to mention something that developed in 2021, which was, I think, very unfortunate. In 2021, because of the lockdown, you remember lockdown began in 2020, continued in 2021. So many people were at home, including school-going children. And as a result, we got 31 children thrown in pit latrines that we rescued alive. 31 newly born children thrown in pit latrines that at that time arising out of redundancy, stress probably, and being available generally. There was a lot of activity that resulted in producing children, and it appears many of them probably were not planned for, and as a result, quite a number were thrown in pit latrines. But we thank God that the 31 were rescued, and in that period we only lost one child that had been thrown in a pit latrine. So the total was 31, and the breakdown is given on the screen and in the report, but the majority were in Kampala Metropolitan Policing Area, it's a big area, followed by Masaka, followed by Hoima, and others in that category. So, in that very year, also, we responded to and attended to a number of complicated rescue operations, mainly rescue operations in buildings that had collapsed. You remember, sir, we had one in 𝐔𝐠𝐚𝐧𝐝𝐚 that claimed quite a number of lives. But also we had one in 𝐏𝐨𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐞 in 𝐾𝐳𝐵𝐵, that's off Hoima Road in Nansana Municipality. But we also had one in Kyengera Town Council. These were the most challenging rescue operations in buildings that had collapsed as a result of mistakes that had been made in the construction process. So, sir, that's the brief that we have from the Directorate. But suffice to note that the strategies that were put in place to mitigate some of the causes of fires include enhanced community mobilization in fire safety and prevention, but basically targeting schools, boarding schools and institutions, and also targeting large concentrations of communities, especially landing sites and in slum areas. That's where most fires occur. And two is constructive engagement and working together with other major stakeholders, mainly the local authorities, the 𝐏𝐶𝐚𝐧𝐝𝐴, the municipal councils and town councils, as well as the building control board, to make an input in fire safety in buildings and structures, factories, name them. With that, sir, I beg to stop here. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's give another round of applause to the Director of Fire and Rescue Services for ably bringing out the incidents under the Directorate of Fire and Rescue Services in the year 2021. We shall now listen briefly to the Technical Advisor, Governance and Security Programs under the 𝐏𝐨𝐿𝐴 Secretariat, Ms. Lucy Ladira. The 𝐏𝐨𝐿𝐴 is a major partner in the fighting of crime with the police, and they are always given opportunity to engage with us. You're most welcome.
Invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you. My name is Lucy Ladira. I'm the advisor for criminal justice at the Governance and Security Program Secretariat, and I make these few remarks on behalf of the Secretariat, sir. We would like to thank you for steering and managing the process of production of this crime report, which to us is an accountability tool that we present to the people that support us, but we also present to the nation to justify the reason why we exist and why we use the funds that we are given. We applaud the reduction in the crime rate, sir, from 502 last year, 2020, to 457, 2021, under the very difficult circumstances that we had, with reduced funding in most of the areas, especially justice. And we are glad that we registered this progress. We can now justify that we need more funding. For us, sir, the fight against crime is not only about security of the person and safety of property, but it's about the broader agenda of social transformation and development of the nation of Uganda. That while we exist, we carry out interventions that provide an enabling environment where you and I, the investors, are comfortable, are confident to come and bring their resources so that there is trade and ultimately economic development of the country and feeding into the national development framework. We thank you. We pledge to continue providing resources. We note the areas of challenge that have been highlighted today by the different directors. We note the information management system that has been highlighted. We pledge to continue the deconcentration and the constructions. We are saddened by the increase in the sexual and gender-based violence cases, but we also are carrying out a study presently, sir, to understand the causes and also what are the needs of the victims of the sexual and gender-based violence crimes. And we hope that the results of this research will enable us target as well as prioritize the resources in the areas that are most needed. The area of scientific management of crime, sir, we still commit to providing resources, technical support in addressing this. I thank you, sir, for God and my country.
Yeah, that is Madame Lucy Ladira from the Jailo Secretariat. Let's give her another round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we proceed with the program. We go now to the next event, which is the launching of the report by the IGP. And fire and the director traffic for a photograph, and thereafter they proceed to officially autograph this crime report that we have. Thank you, sir. Find a hand over to you, sir.
My honor to launch the annual crime report for the year 2021.
The other directors, please join the IGP. Hurry up, let's try to be fast in the interest of time. Director Traffic, please, just come. You will stand on the side of the IGP after. This is just yes, sir. Just a signature, sir. It's an autograph. DIG, sir, you're most welcome. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The other directors will join, and also yes, sir. Carefully take note of this signature, ladies and gentlemen. ICT, please, let's try to be fast. City. CI has not. Where's the commandant, KMP and FFU? Please, let's try to hurry up and do this. Yes, a couple of signs. You can sign first. Here also. Sir, the last event, we shall have a small demonstration where you will hand over 3 copies, one to Gilos, then 2 members of the media. So Lucy Ladira, you'll please come and get a copy from the IGP. Then Amina and Akabos. Yes. So that brings us to the end of the program. I hand back for any concluding remarks from you, sir. And then.
Now, is there any question to director? Oh, I think
What's wrong with this thing? Huh?
so many people have been alleging that so many cameras. That aspect
What's wrong with
missing cameras, not missing from the problem. When forensic service will also tell us the status of the forensics.
Thank you very much. About the camera, our percentage of what is paid to aid
Thank you, IGP. The comment I would make, as we have gone through the crime report, ICT, CCTV, they have played a very big role in apprehending criminals. For instance, you have seen the case where an NRM chairman was murdered, and it is through CCTV that the criminals were got. the rampant criminal gangs terrorizing the city have been able to be got through CCTV. We are able to trace back and pick these criminals. Many of them have been sent to jail. Recently we observed the behaviors of drivers using the CCTV. So we see that road accidents sometimes are made because of poor road driving, but with CCTV throughout the entire country, we can be able to see and apprehend poor road drivers. The performance of cameras, it is not true that the cameras are not working. Actually, we are operating at 85%. The only challenge we have are the rampant civil works which are going on within the city. If you look at the city, you look at the municipalities, there are a lot of civil works which are going on. So those ones in fact affect our fiber optic networks, which eventually affect our cameras. So the cameras are working. We shall even provide you footages where we have apprehended criminals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. The Directorate of Forensic Services is one of the key stakeholders in the management of crime. 𝐷𝐞𝐸𝐴 is my name. I'm the Acting Director of Forensic Services. The year under review, which has just been launched in the report, that is 2021, Forensic Services has been a pivotal part in the management of crime. And our main focus has been to bring value of forensic service delivery when it comes to criminal investigations. As you have been listening in from the Inspector General of Police, investigations are now becoming a little bit more complicated, and science is the way to go. So this year, we have been able to look at an uptake of forensic service delivery, which has gone up by 81%, and that is because of embracing the science therein. Our main focus has been establishing issues to do with a systematic review of our activities. We have also been able to have an insight in the timely review of our criminal records. You have seen us supporting issues to do with certificate of good conduct and others when it comes to criminal review. We have also been able to develop at scene forensic capabilities as have been displayed.
The microphone is working, they are unable to hear you, it's working.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We have also been able to develop at scene capabilities as have been displayed in the various incidences which have been going on in the country, where we have had great successes in identifying criminal offenders. We are still working very hard to streamline the well-being of our forensic practitioners, and we'd like to thank the government for really looking at scientists as a key part of service delivery. But overall, sir, developing faster and more responsive forensic services is our main goal as we move forward to the coming years, and we look forward to increasing our capacity and also of our personnel to be able to undertake the tasks at the field. So this is our contribution to crime management, and we look forward to building on the successes we have had this year. I thank you, sir.
We have only one question from Uganda. Come forward and ask the
Good morning, IGP and directors. My name is Andrew Bagala. I'm a journalist with the Monitor Publications. IGP, I have very few questions. One, IGP, last year when you were launching a similar report here, you promised to suppress crime, but the crime has increased. Isn't it a failure of police that you failed to suppress crime? The second issue I wanted to find out, maybe from the director, CID, you usually quantify in monetary value the property and money lost annually. The other year it was around 11 trillion. I want to know how much did the country lose in crime last year.
Okay.
Now, Burglaries are deadly. The Uganda police are free to suppress crime. There is no society where crime can be suppressed. You can only reduce crime. I'm not aware of the society where it's not to reduce crime. So, the Burglaries were forgiven. Why is this? Because of the lockdown, because of the idle. Crime was invisible. So, they only
The other directors are coming to answer from here. Yes. Let's get this last question. Can you ask your question and rewind?
Bring it down. Hello, you, sir. My name is 𝐏𝐨𝐿𝐴𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐞. I work with Mama FM. 𝐏𝐿𝐴𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐞 from Radio Mama. Radio Mama is a women's radio, and we have been in operation for years. Yes. My concern actually is about the traffic accidents led by borders here in the city. Because now we have seen...
Go straight to the question.
The question is, where is the gap? Why are these borders not affected by the law? Is it the gap within the traffic officers that they are few? Is the law not effective to them? Where is the reason?
Okay.
Thank you.
Then hurry up.
My name is Joseph Kato. I work with Uganda Radio Network. I have two questions. One, when I look at the deferment cases reported in 2021, there are 14,000. Yet the Minister of Gender gave us the deferment cases vis-a-vis the teenage pregnancies of 2021, which stood at 300,000, 20 plus. Why is the gap that you have only 14,000, the ministry is reporting over 300 plus? Why is the gap? Then secondly, the question goes to traffic. The people, I have several reports, and I've been to one by Hope for Victims, which shows that the challenge with road crashes is the post-crash handling. That when an accident happens, the investigation to find whether it was whether road design and what that gap is always neglected, and the follow-up of people, victims taken to hospital is always not there. That's why you give the number. When they follow up to hospital, you have the fatality is like 4,000, yet for them they have 12,000. Okay. Why doesn't police always follow up on the victims? Asking, I'm asking.
Okay.
For me, it's one question. There is an increase in mob justice, and most people take the law in their hands, especially when they do not believe in the force. So what are you going to do to ensure that people can believe that actually when you go to police, you will get the justice you deserve?
That's all, sir. Yes? Yeah. Who is ready to come up? And
I think there's only one or two questions I can answer. One, I don't know, I didn't get his name well, the one whom you said was like quarreling.
Kato.
Is it Kato?
Yes.
Kato needs to be sent back to a journalism school. Reported of defilement by the Ministry of Gender. I think you don't get your statistics right. First of all, this is almost, if you follow the presentation, it's like the whole crime almost of the country. But what you are mistaking, go back very well, Kato. The Ministry of Gender registers incidents, like the way you have a call center. Hey, this has happened to me, this has happened to me. That's different from cases which are registered with the police station and investigated. So, Kato, my brother, go back and listen well to the Ministry of Gender. Otherwise, we are not in contradiction at all. We just don't seem to be on the same page with your question. Now, there is one who talked about me quantifying all the value of the crime. I think this is Margaret. Margaret, I think I'll get time in Anga. We need to have a discussion with Margaret on how costs can be estimated crime. Yes, we had that figure and we are looking at it, and we are trying to quantify how much in terms of loss we can. So I think it was premature for us to come here and just say the value of property loss was this trillion. We should be able to be scientific in coming out with that number. But I will have some discussion with you and we agree on the best way forward. Thank you, sir. I think those are all.
I have 4 questions. One, the problem of motorcycles. Enforcement is not a one-man show that traffic can do the enforcement and really get the desired results. There are many stakeholders involved in this issue of motorcycles, right from importation, licensing, organizing them, which does not fall under the mandate of traffic police. From the figures I've given you, more than 55,000 motorcycles were apprehended in different offenses, and that is a big number. You cannot even now tell me how many motorcycles you have in this country, and you will also put it to the traffic police. We give you the figures so that you go and also make an analysis, support traffic, and we shall get the desired results. The second question, I think that person who asked did not understand what we presented today and showed ignorance of statistics, and therefore you would not really answer because he did not understand post-crash management. If we understood post-crash management, then we would be at par. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chom will give us
Thank you, sir. This is in respect to Shodelivia Ruhanga's question. Yes, I wouldn't even call it mob justice. It's actually mob injustice. It's there, it's common, it's rising, but this is out of the African traditional justice system, which is different from the justice system which was brought. It's not about police, but could be loss of confidence in the justice system, not in the police. And we have cases, for example, recently in Mayuge, somebody was arrested, he stole 20 kilograms of raw coffee, he was taken to court, and he was sentenced and given non-custodial sentence. So the people were not happy seeing him going back, and they drummed, they went and actually raised down the entire homestead, and police rescued him. So for us, we want instant punishment for offense that is committed. And that is what is probably bringing the problem. If the justice is delayed, people tend to think that maybe they are not benefiting out of it. Another example is, where you have stolen my cows. I have not recovered it. The only punishment is that you are taken to court, you are sentenced, and that is the punishment. But traditionally, people want to be compensated. My cows have been stolen, I want the cows to be compensated. So people think that maybe the justice system is not doing enough, and therefore they should take the law in their own hands and then lynch these people. I think that's where the problem could be. Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of this event. May I take this opportunity to actually thank each and every one of you who has managed to come and participate in the launching of this annual crime report. Let me start by thanking the respective directors who compiled the report. Can we give them a round of applause? Can we give another round of applause to all stakeholders from JAILOS, our friends from the media who have managed to join us today. We appreciate you so much. Let us also thank the Deputy Inspector General of Police who has been part of this event. Sir, we thank you for taking time to be with us. And give a very big round of applause to the Inspector General of Police for gracing this event and launching the annual crime report. We thank you so much. We have brunch, lunch combined with breakfast. It is just behind here. You are all invited. Please eat and then proceed. You're most welcome. Thank you. We could go on.